absolute power corrupts, absolutely. After a period of time, you just have to be less effective. And some of the judges get absolutely despotic in the courtroom. And if you sneeze the wrong way, you can get contempt of court, you can get thrown out, you can get put in jail. So that, along with, some very basic things, where when you go to court, everyone shows up at 9 o'clock. Okay, and people are paying lawyers $200, $300, $400. And the majority of people are there till 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So you're paying 3 or 4 hours of time at $300 an hour or $200 an hour, and you're in front of the judge for 5 minutes. Now, that seems like a very that's easy to fix, right? Just some people show up at 9, some show up at 10. There'll be overlap. But what will that do? That will reduce the amount of money that the lawyers make. Do the judges want to do that? Because all of their friends are lawyers, right? So if they actually made that very common sense change, then all of those lawyers would lose a lot of money.
Well, I can tell you, we've looked into the judges coming on at 9 o'clock. I don't know what court area you've been watching, but the courts that we've been watching, and there's a particular famous judge that I can tell you, her name is Mary Manzi, practices out of the Lawrence District Court. This is a judge that's never on the bench at 9 o'clock. I mean, we're talking about 9:45, 10 o'clock, and it's very interesting that these judges don't come out at exactly 9 o'clock while these parties are actually paying their attorneys. So what changes can the Governor Council make to try to change those type of...
Well, the unfortunate fact is, as it stands now, once a person is approved as a judge, you can there's almost nothing, absolutely nothing you can do to change the behavior. I mean, you're doing some good things in, I believe it's Lawrence District Court, bringing attention to these judges, but it's not a system-wide change. And I think that the Governor's Council and thorough vetting of people is really the best opportunity we have, excuse me, to prevent some of these problems. If a nominee is going to be applying for a job and they're vetted not only by the council, but by the public at large, because their information is out there completely and people can look at it, and other people can investigate their behavior or their history as well, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be screened out. Right now, if you're part of the establishment, the legal industry, there's really very little to weed you out. But once the public has more of a say in the process, I think we'll see a lot better, a higher caliber of people going into the judgeships. The other thing I might say is, as a point of information, it's not required that judges, by the Constitution, it's not required that judges be lawyers. It is required under Governor Romney's J&C executive order. And that's something that could be done away with a stroke of a pen, but judges don't have to be lawyers. And in fact, going back not too many years ago, I believe in the 60s and 70s, there were part-time judges and weekend judges, and people were not, in the past, they didn't have to be members of the bar to be a judge. And by the Constitution, they still don't.
Now, you both have opponents running up against each other? And you guys have a primary as well?
I have a primary in District 1, which I said is Southeast Massachusetts. That's September 14th. I'm running as a Republican, so if anyone's an independent or a Republican and they're in the southeastern part of the state or the Cape and the Islands, I would ask them to cast a vote for me on the September 14th primary.
Why Joe versus your opponent?
Well, as I said, I've been monitoring the council for quite some time. I actually think my Republican opponent has some very good ideas on some of the social issues that he's brought up. But I don't know if he's as good as I am, or I would tend to think not, in terms of the mechanics on how best to change the council. As I said, we have to make it a lot more public, a lot more transparent, and we have to make the council accountable to the public in the entire process. I would also argue that the J&C has to be changed dramatically as well. It should not be all lawyers. And it's coming out, the importance of this can't be underestimated, because right now we have the resignation of Chief Justice Marshall. Whether you like what she did or did not like, and I don't think she was very good for the Commonwealth, the point is the Governor's Council and the people that sit there will either approve someone like Justice Marshall again, or they'll reject that person again. And if Justice Marshall was coming up again, I would vote against her position as a Chief Justice in the courts.
It's interesting because she did call, stated that she would be resigning, and she used the excuse that her husband had some type of disease or Parkinson's disease. It came out that it was her husband had that 10 years ago. So why do you think anything, you don't have to answer this, but do you think anything other than that particular issue is the exact reason why she is stepping down?
I have no idea.
You don't have.
Yeah, I don't have any idea about
Now,
that.
Rich, let me just ask you, why you over your opponent?
Well, first, I'm running as an independent, okay, in District 2, which goes from Hopkinton east to Hyde Park, so just a little bit of Boston, and then down to Seekonk, Rehoboth. So it's a really, they're all very, very large districts, 750,000 people. I'm running as an independent. I'm the only independent in my district, so I don't have a primary. There will be a primary, a Democratic primary, between the current person, Kelly Timilty, who is probably the worst governor's counselor that we have. She very rarely even makes comments, when interviewing candidates. She was brought up on ethics violations because she forged Deval Patrick's signature 2 years ago when she was running. So she had a hotly contested election with this guy, Jubenville, who spent $100,000. So my competitors, we'll see what happens with the Democrats, but taking Kelly Timilty aside, who hopefully will not even have a chance to get back in, the other two are lawyers. I've met Robert Jubenville, and I haven't met Glovsky, who's a Republican, but they haven't said anything about changing or reforming, right? When you talk to most lawyers, not all, when I was out collecting signatures, there were, a bunch of lawyers I talked to that said they do need a change. But the majority of them are very happy with the status quo because it fattens their pockets, right? Whether they're in probate court, family court, or district court, they are there to get along and go along, right? So if we elect either one of those two people, you're just electing another lawyer who's on the inside who doesn't see what happens. Now, the benefit of us not being lawyers, okay, we've all been through the court system. I've been through starting with probate and family court. I'd never been into court, Massachusetts at all before I was served with divorce, and then it just rumbles on after there. You court in and out all the time. I've been in district court a lot, and you just see what happens to you as well as what happens to all the other people around you. So there's a lot of reform that needs to happen. There's things that people don't even recognize until you get in there and you talk with people that are being abused effectively.
Well, speaking of abuse, the state of Massachusetts issues out the court system itself, anywhere between 20 to 50,000 restraining orders in a year. Is there anything that the governor's council can do to ensure that these restraining orders are not being abused moving forward in the processing of electing judges?
Yeah, there's one thing we can do, which we tried to do with David Aptaker, which was to at least make sure they understand what the grounds for a restraining order are, which is reasonable fear of imminent physical harm. So day in and day out, if you sit through district court, you will see that people go up, and there are obviously abuse cases, right, that definitely deserve restraining orders, right? But there are also cases of he said, she said, and he yelled at me, and they have to uphold the law. And too many judges today do not uphold the law. They do whatever they want to do.
Joe, what do you see?
Well, I would say again, the only opportunity we have is in the governor's council to vet candidates to make sure they understand. From my point of view, the underlying premise is that the law is intrinsically flawed and unconstitutional, and that if it's going to be implemented at all, it should be implemented with great caution. But yesterday, for example, there was a hearing for a couple of candidates, and from what I saw, they had no understanding of the tremendous damage that the restraining orders are causing to the citizens of the state. So if I was on the council, I would be voting against many candidates who are getting approved now.
And these were attorneys that were?
Oh, yes, they were attorneys who had gone through the process and were before the governor's council in the final stage of the nomination hearing. And I in the last few weeks, there's been a number of nominations, and I can't think of any one of them who I would feel comfortable with as a judge regarding the restraining order problem that we have.
If someone wanted to donate to your campaign or help you hold signs, or what do they need to do? Where do they go to find you?
Well, if you want to donate, you go to voterichmitchell.com, and there's a button up on the top where you can click donate. It goes to PayPal, and then you can donate. You can donate up to $500, which is the limit, or you can donate $10. So whatever whatever you can give. And then if you want to contact me, my cell phone is on there, which is 508-789-3222. My email address is up there. Contact me, call me, and I would appreciate any help that I can get.
Are you on Facebook?
I'm on
MySpace?
Facebook, and actually Facebook is probably the best place because with Facebook, it's just a lot more dynamic than a website, and we have a lot more discussions, posts, stuff. So if you go to Facebook and type in Rich Mitchell, Governor's Council, politician, then you should find me.
And Joe, if somebody wanted to reach you now, we understand that you are chairman of the Fatherhood Coalition that advocates for men and fathers in the court system. How can people reach you or that particular organization? And are you on Facebook as well?
Yes, pretty much the same process that Rich mentioned. My website is votejoeurenick.com, but I'm also on Facebook, so just type in Joe Urenick and you can reach me by way of the Facebook. And I also have a cell phone, 857-350-0575, and you can reach me anytime by cell phone. So donations are very, very welcome, and of course any help on the campaign would be great as well. And as I said, September 14th is the drop dead date for my campaign, where I hope people will get out and vote in District 1, southeastern Massachusetts and the Cape and the Islands.
Great. Now, you're also a host of a show called The Father's Corner, is that correct?
Right, in Boston, the Boston Neighborhood Network program.
And
cable
people
program.
can see that show how?
That's on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock. It's a live call-in show, so it's really good for people who want to get on the air and express their opinion regarding the issues facing men and fathers. So it's every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And if they go to that website, bnntv.org, they can watch it live, no matter where in the world they are.
Great, great. Well, listen, I wish you guys the best of luck on your campaign trail. It's an uphill battle. You guys are running to make a difference, to protect families, to ensure that the laws are being obeyed, and basically those that are sworn to uphold the laws are actually held accountable. And talking to you guys, it seems that is not the case right now. But I want to wish you guys the best of luck on your campaign trail. You've been watching Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Hector Montalvo. Watch us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Thank you for watching.